Hello, and welcome to the Social Psychic Radio Show featuring Jason Zook. In uncertain times, we must change our focus and priorities. This show will highlight social justice issues with the goal of expanding minds and increasing unity, love, and mutual respect for ourselves and our planet. We support the Black Lives Matter movement. Our show aspires to promote social spirituality, which simply means that by coming together, we can solve any of our problems, including the goal of bringing an end to all forms of hate, discrimination, bias, or oppression. We must protect our environment, reform our criminal justice system, and protect every citizen from police brutality. When we come together, it becomes possible to bridge the gaps that plague our society and divide us from within. We the people means everyone.
Hello and welcome to the Social Psychic Radio Show featuring Jason Zook. It's with great pleasure that I have the opportunity of introducing special guest Aleya Harris to the show today. Story building marketer and BioEnergetic business coach who helps entrepreneurs make money doing what they love. Aleya believes that all business owners should make good money doing what they love. Unfortunately, many are great at using their skills to uplift clients with their craft, but struggle with financial and emotional hurdles that hold them back from reaching their potential. As an award-winning marketer with over a decade of experience, Aleya and her team at Flourish Marketing develop highly converted emails, social media, and website copy, empowering education and bioenergetic business coaching solutions, and profit-driving marketing strategies to help passionate empire builders turn their talent into treasure. Aleya understands that burnout lurks right around the corner for most go-getters. Creating balance in business and life is critical to enjoying your journey to success. Aleya looks at problems from a holistic perspective and combines her NES Health Practitioner and StoryBrand Guide certification to work simultaneously on improving the wellness of her clients' mindset, energy fields, and business strategy. Always with a keen eye on ROI, Aleya helps clients fast-track their growth through intuition, database systems, and business savvy. A strategist and educator, Aleya spreads actual aha moments as a professional speaker and podcast guest to help her audience have an enduring legacy. It's with great pleasure I welcome Aleya to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Jason. Thank you
for being here. I appreciate having you on the show, and I'm excited about having us being able to discuss some pretty vital topics today. I want to ask you from your background, how did you come to take your story building marketing brand and your business coaching and combine them to work with entrepreneurs as clients?
Yeah, so I was already working as a marketer. I already had a marketing agency. And then I was also dabbling in spiritual coaching. And it was something that comes very, very naturally to me. And I said, well, I really don't want to live in two separate worlds at the same time. So that was kind of rolling around in my brain. And then I realized that clients were coming to me on my marketing agency and saying things like, oh, I am burnt out and tired and lost and confused, but can you just write me an email sequence and that will fix everything? And I'm like, I don't feel like that's true. And that's not probably the best way for me to help you. So let's talk about it. And I realized that there was truly a need not only to clarify your message, which is what I help people do as a copywriter, but there was a need to take a step back from that so people could even understand what their message was in order to even clarify it. How are you then being your authentic self, showing up how you want to show up, of speaking your truth? What is blocking you from doing that and removing those blockages, then to be able to articulate who you are and what you do and how you want to show up. So bioenergetic business coaching combines all of those together and allows me first to help people become more aligned, and we fix some of the energy and information that's off. Then we help them manifest what they want in the world with structured marketing and business systems. And then we evolve them to that next level. So they set up boundaries and framework so that they can not find themselves sliding right back to where they were, so that they actually keep moving forward, like teach a person to fish kind of situation, right?
I love the way you're describing things and you're using spiritual terminology. You're speaking my language, so to speak. terms and in entrepreneurial terms. I want to ask this, looking at it, let's talk intuition. You're on a spiritual podcast. So let me ask you these questions. What type of intuition do you feel you're pretty strong at? Because I feel like you're pretty clairvoyant. I also feel like you're probably an empath and you have a very strong connection with feeling the energy of people and helping them guide them and life coach them, basically.
All is true. Everything you've said is true. So it's interesting, like when you go to like, I've always found this odd to me. And this could just be because maybe I didn't think too hard about it. But when you go to people, they're like, I'm a this, I am psychic, I am a medium, I am a this. And I've never really thought about myself in one singular term because I use the different ways of connecting with.
You're creative. You're so creative. You're creative in your delivery. You're creative in your guidance.
Yeah.
You're powerful with that. You're good at being able to think outside the box, implement strategies and protocols outside the box as well.
Absolutely. And I love flowing in that way. So when you ask me, well, what is it? Who are you? What do you do? I do lots of things. So there's sometimes when I can see it, I can see very clearly what's happening to people. I can feel it. There's other times when I'm working with a client and I'll feel pain in certain parts of my body. I'm like, okay, that's where your blockages are. There are other
bring that up to them?
Oh, absolutely. That's my job, right?
I love that you're able to embrace all your abilities and talents and utilize them in one form and mindset. That's great.
If you don't, I almost feel like I'm going to get like smacked on the hand from spirit because I'm not being told it just for some like parlor trick or for.
You're helping people with it.
Yeah. And if you don't and you withhold that information, spirit speaks through you with that information. So if you withhold it, then now what happens is that you're telling spirit that you know what's best, and then you have to deal with the repercussions of that action. So I'm always very clear. Like I also channel spirits as well. So if I have someone speaking,
I love this. I love hearing my intuition and I'm so, it's like hearing you describe it. It's music to my ears.
I'm glad. So, but if so, like, let's say I channel someone's grandfather. Like I was talking to my husband's great grandfather a little while ago, or him talking through me because he had something he really wanted to say. And so I could feel my body start shaking. And I said, oh, it's almost like at that point in time, you're an observer. You're like, oh, okay. Something's happening. You're looking around. You're like, all right, someone's kind of trying to talk to you. It's almost like someone's knocking at the door. Right?
I get a ding dong.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me put my tea down. Like, and you have that kind of relationship. But if I were to then to go say, yes, I and all of my great human strength am manifesting this experience, then whatever is the result of the words that come out of my mouth will ping back at me. So then I'll find myself sick or exhausted, or I'll find again, it's happened before. And luckily it's been
like managing it, figuring out how to manage it before it overwhelms you. Cause I know when I first started out as a medium, I had to learn to manage my own abilities. Like I wouldn't get good night's sleep because I didn't know how to turn it off, where they would disturb me in my dreams or wake me up. My arm would go up in the air, stuff like that for a while until I gained control of how to define boundaries with the spirit world when you're sleeping and resting, those kind of things.
You have to define boundaries because they're very pushy.
They will take a mile.
There's that. So that's important. But I'm more talking about ego.
Yeah.
And realizing that every single person on this planet has intuitive abilities.
Absolutely.
It's not that we're so very special and we're some type of superhuman race and it's all because we're so wonderful that this is happening. In fact, I don't even venture to understand why exactly it is me, but I'm very clear that it is not me. So then when I talk to clients, if there is something spiritual happening, I'm like, okay, well, then your spiritual guide is saying this, or spirit says this, or this is the work that's happening through spirit. If I say, I'm doing this and this is what I recommend, and you need to do this because I'm just so very smart and wise.
That's getting ego in the way.
Right. You put your ego in the way, and then that tells spirit, like spirit, if the spirit talks through you and you're very clear about that channel, then the responsibility for whatever happens on spirit, and spirit can take whatever. That's its job. But if I then say I'm taking responsibility for what happens, I can't take whatever. And so if there is some action that needs to be resolved for that person, they're dealing with generational curses, or they're trying to unwind some emotional issues, or we're opening up their Akashic records and some shit has to get cleared. And I'm like, I am doing the clearing for you. Well, then I will do the clearing, and I will be throwing up, and I will be bedridden, and my joints will hurt, and all of this stuff. So it's like when you work, you just have to be careful and be mindful and be humble about what exactly is happening.
No, that's so true too. And I think that's part of the ability of growing. If somebody wanted to do this more regularly and actually work with clients like you are or I am, it's learning to decipher between your ego self and your spiritual self. The way I do it with myself, and I'm probably just trying to verbalize what I do, but I basically say that whatever senses don't derive from physical source, I realize it's from spiritual source or from intuitive ability, energy, et cetera, and I just kind of leave it in that box. And that's my way of deciphering it. So I know what's coming through and how it is, and I don't doubt it. I just know whatever it is.
It's funny because I actually wouldn't be able to do that.
Really? Everybody's got unique approaches.
Yeah, well, and it's because there'll be sometimes where I'll smell things or taste.
You have an olfactory thing going on.
Yeah, so like I was clearing my mom's house, and I went up there and I set up a whole altar. There's like a multi-day situation, and I smelled death. Like I smelled rot. Like I even moved the couch. I was like, what the hell is under? And it was the clearing and the old crap coming out. So like it really depends on the person. You have to find what your thing is. It's not as clear for me between the physical and the
spiritual stuff. I keep it kind of like
spiritual stuff. I don't know.
Metaphysical.
Yeah, there you go. That.
What has been one of your, have you had a spiritual awakening at all? Where you really realize that your intuition and your intuitive abilities were pretty strong, and at that point it was like an aha moment, and you realize going forward that that you had these abilities and this is what it is? Or were you raised knowing that you had gifts in the family and that you might prop up or anything like that?
Well, I shake my head no, and then now that you said it, my dad kind of got into it, but I was so young and I didn't really understand, and my parents were divorced, and so I just thought he was a kook.
Okay.
I can't think of one moment. It was kind of like a series of moments. So I was reading oh my God, I can't think of the title of the book, by Caroline Myss. It was about her being an intuitive coach, an intuitive healer, and the experiences that she'd had. I'm like, I need to find someone like that. And I don't remember what my problem was I was dealing with at the time, but I figured out that was going to be my solution. And I was at this retreat, and I met my now spiritual coach and friend, Monica Lasque. And after working with her more, she actually was starting to tell me like, well, hey, Leah, like, that's not not everybody does that. And that's also not normal. And yeah, most people don't see people like that's not normal.
The boxes were being checked off one at a time.
Right. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we went and she had us do my very first ayahuasca ceremony.
Wow.
And I've done ayahuasca several times in the States and in South
America.
I've never done it
before. I've always heard about different experiences that people have.
It's lovely. It is quite lovely. And it was there. My very first one, I felt nothing and was disappointed. I just sat awake all night mad. But I was hearing stuff, and what it helped me realize, that was when I started, I'm so glad you asked me this question because I really haven't thought about it before. I started like differentiating between my voice in my head and spirit's voice because I hadn't really done it before. And during my first ayahuasca ceremony, I kept saying to myself, me, Aleya Harris, saying to myself, oh no, that's nothing. Oh no, that's nothing. Oh no, that's just me telling to myself, oh, that's me. And I did that. I was all night though, Jace, all night. I did this until there was one moment where it was almost like this.
You would have been called Buzz Killington if you.
I was killing my own buzz, laying there awake, man. And then there was this one moment in time where there was this one loud voice that was like, fine. I don't need you to believe in me to help you. And it was loud. And I was like, whoop. That one was not me. I can't deny that.
Who was it?
It was just spirit. And so when you're in ayahuasca, there is Aya, who is like this feminine spirit. And, you know, the way that I think about spirit, I think of it like it can compartmentalize itself as it chooses and sees fit. Because really, I truly feel like once you've passed, or when you live in a different realm and you're in a different plane, it's all one big kind of consciousness. And then from our perspective as humans, we are not able to process that.
Not at all.
So it pieces itself up into things that we can understand, and feelings and sentiments and visions that make sense for our teeny little human brains and the way that we process information. So it was Aya. And later I really like solidified that, because we've had whole conversations ever since. And she's hilarious. And I thought it was just me because, you know, I like to laugh and joke. I'm like, oh, this is how she manifests to me. And I've heard other people say like, no, she is hilarious.
Is she like a spiritual comedian?
She laughs kind of at you. So it's almost like you've already cracked the joke, and she's like, you remember that time you did this? So then as I went more and did more sessions with my spiritual coach, and then I did more ayahuasca sessions, it was like a slow blossoming. And I had no idea what was happening, because during then ayahuasca, as opposed to laying there mad, I grew to start speaking in different languages, speaking to different people, seeing different visions, being male, being female, being animal, being human. All of it.
All is one kind of moments, but I feel like that when I've done like sensory deprivation chambers. I didn't do anything with ayahuasca, but I would do something like that, and I would feel all is one. We're all one fabric, universal fabric.
Yes.
Of the universe. Every
Yes.
spirit and human and animal is all one thing. Plant life.
And it's interesting because when you have different experiences depending on the setting, sensory deprivation sounds nice because you can.
Have you done it yet?
I haven't done it yet, but it sounds like
don't do that
ayahuasca.
Like just do it natural. I would never try to do something like that, but it's not like, but if you do it, you can prepare yourself. The only thing you got to know is that you'll be very buoyant because it's very high salt content of the water, so you don't want to get in your eyes. But when you get to do it, it's an experience. I've done it twice, and the first time I felt that whole we're all one fabric kind of thing. The second time I felt high channeled energy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very positive experiences. So,
yeah. Well, I mean,
I know we're not alone. Put it that way. I just felt like there was an intuitive intelligence in the universe that I was connecting with through the second experience. And I had no substances in my body. I literally meditated, went to the event, sat in tank for an hour, came out like, wow, that was cool. I know that we're not alone, and I know we're protected. I know nothing horrible is going to happen to us.
Yeah.
I got from that experience.
There's different ways of getting to that same universal truth, right? That same kind of vein, whether it's sensory deprivation, ayahuasca, deep meditation, whatever it is, right?
Have you done anything with the Akashic Records yet?
Yes.
I can see you becoming an authority on that in the future.
Yeah, I have. Well, I have gotten information from them for my clients, but I wouldn't say that I've read someone's Akashic Records. I remember though, when my spiritual coach first read mine, I didn't know what I was expecting, because at this point in time, we've been through so many experiences together. I literally was thinking that like I was going to see like a scroll float in the air. Like I had no idea what was about to happen. And then we were talking for like 2 hours. And then I was like, so what, are we going to read them now? She's like, we've been reading them. And I was like, wait, I didn't see anything. Are you reading them? Can you see the scroll? Like, she goes, that's not how this works.
I feel like when energy comes through a reading and it's shared, it's meant to be shared a certain way. And that's what my spirit guide showed me. And kind of like what you're just describing with this Akashic Records kind of session, it sounds like you were being revealed truths and you weren't even realizing that was coming from the Akashic Records.
Not in my first session. After that, I'm like, okay, I got it. Because I kept, Jason, I swear, I was waiting to like literally see it. Or for her to like go into like a little bit of a trance-like state and feel like she was reading. So I was waiting for actual reading to happen.
It was so subtle. You were like, wait, when did we start doing this?
When did we start? Are they open? Oh, okay. I'm glad I was taking notes.
What do you find for yourself that helps you with your creative flair? Because I know you got a very strong creative energy in you. How do you cultivate the energy to create things that you find you're very happy with? And I know you got a lot of great things you're creating. So if you could share something like that with our audience, I'd love to know, because I know it's something that I'm sure there's so many else I'd love to hear. How do you grow the creativity when you're stuck?
I just stop. That pushing forward is the worst. So if you're in a block and you're just like, oh, I'm going to push through because I'm on a deadline, move the deadline, change the date, do this.
If you can, why not, right?
It's not going to work for you right then and there. And you need to get some outside, go outside, play, go have sex, do something.
I love this. I love your suggestions because they're all healthy and fun. Go play outside, have sex. Like, yeah, I think our audience will like those suggestions.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's like you say, lock yourself in the room and meditate for 2 hours. I mean, that can be one of the things if somebody likes to do that.
I mean,
real life applications of these things that help with coping mechanisms.
Creativity, well, most of life is about movement. Creativity especially. So if you're stuck, move yourself in other ways. Get moving. Yeah, just move in another way. Right? Even if you have I've had 15-minute dance parties in my office. I really move, just move. Go do Pilates. Just stop.
I dance around here and I'm not a dancer, but I put the music on and I'll dance around just to get my mind clear, because I feel music's a great healing modality. When I move, I listen to certain songs. I may look silly to others, but for myself, that's a healing approach and it works.
It doesn't really matter what you look like. That's not the point.
Exactly. But it's
about how it feels, how you're moving everything around. And then
I agree 100%. That's like when I would go for a walk and I'm just listening to music and I'm outside on the water. Like, it's just so therapeutic to be with nature at night when nothing's around and it's quiet. And I feel like it's just a way of reconnecting. I was thinking about that last night when I went for a walk, and how I feel like it's like going to nature is like a sauna for the soul. And you go and you engulf yourself in it, and it will help. Even being along the water, the calmness of the water with the wind and the clouds and nature at night, it might be a little muggy, but you don't really feel all that as you go one step after another. And next thing you know, you're on this grand journey into nature, even if it's along the city. You could put yourself in that mindset.
Yeah.
You could put your imagination there while you're listening to music, that you're on this grand adventure, even though it's along the same route you've taken every day since the pandemic started.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is so key. And I love what you said earlier about you don't have to just sit in a room and meditate. People have this perception that spirituality is like,
static.
Hold on, let me get spiritual right now. I'm gonna
it's like static. It's like you sit in place and you
you just spirit
you fold your arms, you fold your hands like you're praying, and you close your eyes and you look real spiritual.
Do I look spiritual? How about from this side?
Come on. For a walk somewhere, going for a walk outside, or just anything.
You need to move around, and it's almost like you can pick and choose when you tap into spirit, but spirit's there with you all the time. So you can be spiritual driving your car. You can be spiritual, cooking dinner. It's about just being attuned and aware, and that's
mindfulness,
spirit,
and living in the moment a lot too. How have you viewed the pandemic, and how has it shaped you? I know everyone's had a unique, different experience from it.
Definitely. It's been actually quite interesting because I relaunched this company at the beginning of the pandemic. I didn't know it was the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow.
Remember, at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was like, oh, this is going to blow over in 2 weeks.
Yeah, here we are.
That just sounds so silly saying that right now, but that's what we thought. And I had to get centered. There was a lot of fear, and it actually was really great for me because I let go of a lot of things. I stepped more into my power. I stood more into who I was. I figured out more who I was and what I wanted and how I wanted to show up in the world. So the pandemic was really great for me for that, because I couldn't do anything else. Right? I had to figure out, well, what are my boundaries? What do I want? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? it also was great because my husband was home all the time. So like we got to hang out more and got to solidify that part of our relationship and dive in and really be there and see each other. So while the pandemic as a whole, there's a lot of sadness and death, I'm always very aware that for me, there were lots of silver linings as well.
You know, I'll say this, I've lost 2 friends' parents from the pandemic out of the people I know in my life that have actually succumbed to COVID. From my vantage point, being a cancer survivor, I took it very serious and stayed home, and I basically self-quarantined in general, like, social distancing. So for a year of doing that, I had a few friends, I had a small pod, and I tried, but looking back on it now, I feel like I've adjusted to things. I can tell you that on a Friday night, if I don't have any big plans, that in the past, I would be like, I want to go out, I want to do something. Now on a Friday, I'm like, you know what? It's Friday. I don't care. I'm gonna go on the couch. I'm gonna put the TV on. I'm gonna tune into something, or I'm gonna do an editing of a podcast episode. Like I get kind of lame like that, but at the same time, I'm just glad to be alive right now. And
right.
I feel like with COVID going on in Florida right now, and things are crazy. I just rather stay home and not make a big deal about it. Power through it. It's all about survival in a pandemic and doing what's right and helping people. And
absolutely,
if you can be kind, that goes a long way in respecting people.
Yes, absolutely. Wear your masks, people. Wear your masks.
Wear masks. Respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Those are things people may overlook right now, because even if they're doing all the things like the social distancing, washing hands, wearing masks, getting vaccinated, they might be treating people like garbage inside the household or at the work environment. People should think about their words, think about their thoughts and how they act about certain things. And if they're overwhelmed with a situation, not vent it onto someone else. Or a lot of people tell me that during readings recently, that they've had situations at work or situations in school or whatever mass environment they have where people take it out on them, and they know that they're having a bad day, but it's more of a bad year, so trying to pick everybody up and elevate everybody.
Well, I mean, that's like the signs that you see in restaurants now. It's like, everyone is understaffed. Don't be mad at me who showed up, right?
You're right. And that's the hard part, is we don't know what the new normal is going to be at. We thought by now we'd be clear of this stuff, and now we got another flare up. We got another pandemic building up and another wave cresting on us. So at what point are we finally going to take responsibility and accountability as a society to mandate that everybody follow these protocols for a month? And hopefully after that month, we don't have to worry about this divisive rhetoric that exists in the.
Yeah. And I know I'm in California, so the rhetoric is very different than in Florida. So I can only imagine, what.
I stay in my house a lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Getting off the mask issue, I want to ask you this. Where you've been able to combine your talent sets, have you found that when you work with entrepreneurial clients, that there might be a certain type of client that's more embracive or open to working with you as compared to someone that might be more hesitant? And if so, how do you work with the hesitant person to bring them along and help them with guiding them, or what you can really do to maximize your relationship with them as their coach?
Well, it's funny because I'm coaching them whether they know it or not. So like I have 2 kind of main tracks to be able to start to work with us. It's you either are coming in as a coaching client, a BioEnergetic coaching client, or you're coming in as a copywriting client. But all of our copywriting services start with a strategy session. And in that strategy session, we're pulling out your messaging. And often in there, I'm still using the same, it's still me. So I'm still using the same skills and techniques that I would normally use. It's just not quite as overt, and we don't go as deeply into it because I'm very focused on doing one thing. Let me pull out these words. If we had been coaching, yes, we would have gone much more deeply, and they would have seen a huge kind of change happen, not only in their business, but in their life, as opposed to just like, now we have this email sequence. But I want to work with people where they are at. In general, we have woo-loving female empire building entrepreneurs. That is our ideal client. Really have that as an issue, but we do have some fellas come through. But even still, I am working with a DJ. He came in as a copywriting client, but like his whole business is like, his logo is a heart, and his whole business is about moments that matter and meaningful and heart-centered. And so it's still the same type of thing. He came to us because of our beliefs around copywriting and how we approach it from a very intuitive perspective. So I don't really have that as a challenge, because I've chosen not to have everybody as my client. It's not going to work.
Who is your greatest spiritual influence and why?
Probably well, no, I take that back. And it's so funny because right now I just saw his face. My greatest spiritual influence was John Roger. John Roger is, he has passed, but he is the founder of the movement of spiritual inner awareness. And he actually is my spiritual coach, was one of his very close friends. I never actually met him in this life, but I have met him since he has passed. And he takes spirituality and makes it very practical and makes it very useful to your everyday life through his teachings. And so I do follow a lot of his teachings. Say it again.
Can you give us an example of like how he does that you might know of?
So for example, so if you're like, people are often like, oh, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to sit and empty my mind. First of all, that don't work. Not unless you would really have to focus on that. And not everybody's Buddha, right? More power if you are, but that's just not me. Second of all, if you empty your mind, then you're allowing whatever. Oh,
right, Buddha.
I'm a big fan. I'm just not on his level.
Yeah.
Second of all, if you empty your mind totally, completely empty, and you aren't mindful of what is coming in to it, then that could also open yourself up.
That'd be intuition.
Well, if you open it up and there's not always the best stuff that's going to come towards you. So if you're completely open and blank, then you can attract negativity. So one of the things that John Roger teaches is called spiritual exercises, where instead of emptying your mind, you focus your mind on a tone. And your very first tone that everyone uses is called the Anai Hue, and you chant Anai Hue out loud, internally, and you use it to center your mind. So you're focusing on that thought, and that allows you to really connect with spirit and yourself. And so you chant for 5 minutes, you kind of listen for 5 minutes, you chant for 5 minutes and listen for 5 minutes, and you go back and forth. And then as you move forward through it, you have different initiations that you progress through, and then your tone changes, and you're given your initiatory tone. So
sound healing basically sounds like, to orientate the chakras of the body or the energies of the body to align yourself.
That is part of it. It is very deeper than that, though. When you do it, you really truly connect in ways. Like, I've tried chanting other things, like kind of basically test it out, because I'm very skeptical about things. So I'm like, what if I just chant like love, 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 right? I chant it.
It worked, right?
No, not the same way. No, it's very different. The tones and the words are chosen kind of for a reason, right?
So why those words?
Anai is calls upon the feeling of empathy, and Hugh is a Sanskrit name for God.
Empathy God sounds amazing right now. That's what we need else, right? How much empathy God can we have?
Right. I'll give it all to me.
Please, all right, download to us now.
Right. And so you would think that, love, that sounds like, I'm like, love, 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 love. But words are powerful, just like someone. If you were in Harry Potter, right, you can't just make up your magic words. The magic words are the magic words. They are what they are. Right. So that's something that I have learned, that certain words hold extreme amounts of power.
Word power has power, and empower, power. Those words very positive sounding. They very strong energies.
Yep, totally. So that's one example. There are several. If you go to msia.org, there's a whole section about, I think it's discover, if I'm not mistaken, or practice or something like that, and you can see.
Are you planning to go over the seas and do some type of pilgrimage or some type of trip, like a meditative trip or something coming up for yourself next year?
Not that I have planned, but it's funny because my spiritual coach has told me I'm going back again to the Amazon. I'm like,
I see you going.
Yeah, I know. She keeps telling me, and I'm like, I want to go, but I'm like, can y'all get your COVID numbers together first?
Maybe next year, not now, but like next summer or fall.
Yeah, it would be amazing. I had an amazing time the first time when we went, but I know that I am going back. I know.
You have a spiritual connection to the Amazon, don't you?
I very much do.
You're very strongly rooted there and you feel connected to the energy and nature of that area.
So when I'm there, I tap into part of my spiritual lineage is there very much in the earth of the Amazon. Even when I'm here, there are times when I can feel the earth or the ground crying or weeping or the sadness of the planet and things like that. So yes, very connected to the Amazon, very connected to the spirits there. And I just wish it were not in South America because their numbers are really bad. But
we're not much better here in Florida. We're at the epicenter of the United States, I believe, from last time I checked with COVID numbers. I mean, Hillsborough County School District, where Tampa is, they had 1,400 cases. They had to shut down within a week of starting school. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's like, at what point are we going to learn how to manage a virus, right? That's what it means.
Well,
Discipline and management.
I feel like Florida has been on its own, doing its own thing this entire time.
It always is. Have you ever done the Florida man Google search joke?
Oh, it's hilarious. Oh my God. I'm like, he did what? And then you're just like, oh, this is a joke. And then they show a picture and you're like, it's not a joke. He really
It's like Florida man swallows baby alligator in supermarket and then goes into the bathroom and finds a watch. You're like,
right. It's like, wait, what?
And then I get the real statistics and you're like, how did this really happen? And why is it in the state where I live and call home?
I mean, I know Florida is a large state, but man, you guys have a very interesting rep across California, across the state, especially in California.
Across the world, from starting in 2000 with Hanging Chads.
Oh my gosh. And then was the Tiger King in Florida?
Yes, in Tampa. It's not him. It's what's her name?
Carol Baskin.
She's in Tampa, Tiger Sanctuary or something.
She's in Tampa.
Yeah. In fact, you could go on one of the nature trails and walk past her property, but I'd never had the desire.
I also do not have that desire. She's going to feed me to a tiger. I don't need that to happen.
Tampa's got its own unique history of like celebrity stories and things. Like we have a burial mound story that basically a hurricane hasn't hit head on in Tampa in over 100 years almost, because there's a supposed theory or a myth or whatever you want to call it, that there was a blessing put on Tampa by, Native American religious figures. And
wow.
And that ever since that's happened, like Hurricane Charlie was going into the Gulf, it took a hard right turn into Port Charlotte instead of coming into Tampa. Like Tampa Bay is extremely vulnerable with hurricanes.
But it has not been, well, that's cool.
I'm knocking on wood though.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish they had done the same thing in like New Orleans. That would have been good.
Yeah, now I just want to ask you this. Your relationship to nature and how you feel about nature in terms of your own viewpoints with how intuition works. Do you find that when you do these trips or when you do a retreat in nature, have you found that you're more enlightened or you feel more heightened with your intuition? Yes.
But when I go, it's like not just like a nature walk. Like I love you can go out in nature, but it's kind of like that immersion, like your cell phone doesn't work kind of nature.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I definitely do. Do you when you have?
I've been lucky. I've had some best friends. My best friend Megan and her husband are very nature oriented, so we got to go. I get to see the Florida Springs like a lot around the state and go on like nature walks and be in nature. And I have other friends I've been camping with over the years. I just find even just getting outside and breathing the air, and just even if you're in a city, if you can get outside and walk outside for an hour with music, like we're combining movement, like you said, with meditative practices that are active and not sitting in static. You're like moving around. I always feel like every time I move around, I feel enlightened. I feel revived. I can always get perspective from a different point of view that doesn't bother me as much anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Reconnecting is super important. Absolutely agree. Let
me ask you this. If our audience wants to reach you, how would they reach out to you?
You can go to flourishmarketing.co and there's a big schedule a call button there. You can also check me out on Instagram at Aleya Harris, ALEYAHARRIS, and head over to LinkedIn. Should that tickle your fancy, I'm there too.
Excellent. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself on top of my empire. So I am currently building the foundation and I've passed the seeding stage and I'm now kind of giving birth to some of the main pieces of my business, but I really do see the coaching having a broader piece and being able to certify other coaches in doing what I do in the framework that I've developed.
It's so interesting for me as I've been doing these interviews the last few months. I've had a lot of amazing transformative figures come on the show and share their secrets of what they've done to develop their spiritual practices or the way that they work with clients. And a lot of the ideas of coaching to me impress on me, even with professional athletes, when you study what they do, like the gymnasts or the football players or the basketball players, any of those people who concentrate and create focus and work hard and they're coached. They have amazing coaches. So I believe the value of mentoring coaching is so invaluable. It's priceless. And if we can cultivate more coaches out there to help people through these trying times, we'll have less confusion, greater clarity, and more success for people.
Absolutely. People often see coaching, I don't need a coach. I got this. And it's like, well,
if you had it, you wouldn't be talking.
Biles had a coach and Michael Jordan had a coach. Like, you could do it with a coach.
It's ego, right? When people think they don't need a coach, I think they have their own egos in the way of that.
Yeah. No, I definitely have a coach. And then also when you have a coach, your coach should have a coach. So that's the other thing. There's lots of people who call themselves coaches and they actually are just failed at whatever they do. So now they're coaching. And that's not the kind of coach that you want. And then you should, when you're interviewing a potential coach, ask them, do they have a coach? I have a coach. Because you no matter how great you are and wonderful at helping other people, you still can't see your own life with the same clarity. You need someone to help you.
Well, I think too, that when it comes to coaches, I feel like my best friend and I coach each other all the time. I feel like you could coach each other when the other person's having a bad day. You could feel like, hey, it's okay. You're going to have one of those. Take a deep breath, focus on yourself, self-care, and move forward. And you'll see over time, things will be very positive, very beneficial. I think coaching can do that as well. Do you find that one part of the coaching is helping the person to develop the mindset to help them be more flexible, to work through a challenging situation or endeavor or an encounter, like trying to get them to think positively at a situation when all they've seen is gloom and doom and negativity? Do you think that when it comes to like working with people, when you're helping coach and someone's negative, helping that person change their viewpoints, do you find that as a challenge as a coach?
No, because I don't really approach it that way. I'm not really trying to change them and change anything for them. I'm trying to get them to walk their path, because however, I was just teaching a masterclass about the hero's journey. And one of the key lessons about the hero's journey is that the trials and the tribulations give you the tools to move forward. So if they're in some type of trial or tribulation and they're not seeing and they can't know it, it's like they're in the process of getting the tool that they need to move to the next step. So my goal is to just kind of almost like shine a mirror, like this is what's happening around. What do you think about that?
I believe
how is this happening? How are you going to, how would you like to move forward? Would you like to still be like where you are? And then allow that natural, you can help facilitate that natural change process, but changing someone is not an option.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How have you found being a podcast guest, coming on these different shows and talking about these concepts? What's it been like for you? I'm sure it's a unique experience.
It's been a lot of fun. I record, now I'm like, maybe I record too many podcast episodes, but I record probably about 4-ish podcast episodes a week.
That's awesome. That's meeting amazing people, connecting and building your audience through other
Absolutely. And I love it.
Yeah.
And my big thing is I'm like, okay, being present for each one. I'm like, okay, let me not tell that story again, or let me tell something.
I've been on a couple recently as a guest, and it's like, it's a different like experience in being the host, because as a host, you ask the questions. As a guest, you're entertaining your story, and you're becoming a story maker for your storyteller for yourself.
Absolutely. And you have the responsibility as a guest for the show to really be good.
It's entertaining when we do these on either side of it, because I feel like most of the people that actually agree to do this have to have a certain type of personality in order to open up and do it. Could you imagine someone who's an introvert or a stoic trying to open up in a podcast?
That's not gonna work,
right?
Yeah, boring.
Personality for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have to have the personality for it, and that's one thing that I do not lack is personality.
Yeah. I want to ask you this because we're getting close on time, but if you were a spirit animal, which spirit animal would you be and why?
I would be a puma.
Okay.
It's funny because I have cat-like tendencies. I actually really, in life, I've only met a few cats that I like. I'm really more of a dog person. However, my husband will be working, like I said, he's at home now. Not when he's on a Zoom call, I'm not that bad, but he'll be typing away and then I'll just go and like put my head in his face and sit in his lap and be like, I would like some attention now. Or like I have very elegant movements and a lot of intuition, always land on my feet. There's a lot of, but I also have that kind of grandeur and a regal air about me that the big cats have. Yeah, and plus when I have been in the Amazon and when I've been doing different spiritual things, the puma always comes. Either I turn into a puma, I see the puma's around.
I love that. Also, as you were just talking, I get stuff sometimes psychically, and I'll tell you this, intuitively. You're going to get involved in publishing something that has the word movement is key. So it's either going to be a blog or an article, or it could be a book. There's going to be something with the title in it that says movement is the key. Or movement.
And then I'm going to publish that?
Yeah, you're going to get something that you work on, a project, collaborative project that you're going to publish that has to do with that type of working title. And I get the word working title because you haven't formulated it yet. It's going to be in the future, maybe about 2 years from now. But I feel like you're going to be involved in a collaborative project. It could even be something like an anthology where you get multiple people who talk about movement and how movement.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was like, an anthology. Got it.
Movement is key. Like it's a movement is key anthology that you have other authors or contributors, everybody writing their personal experiences about how movements impacted or affected or helped them in their lives. And you might have like somebody who has cerebral palsy and how movement helps that person become agile and flexible. Or you might have somebody who has arthritis and they'll talk about their healing story involving certain types of movement. I just see something like that. Movement is key.
Movement is key.
And you might be like an editor or work with an editor to have an anthology created. It might be an online anthology even where people create and submit their own personal stories. But I could see that.
That would be cool. So I will write that down and then remember. And then 2 years from now, I'll be like, Jason, guess what?
Well, guess what? It's also do part of the podcast. We're recording right now, so it's not a big deal. You can always just tune in and remember. I mean, when I make these things, I don't always say everything I say is 100% accurate, but sometimes I'll come up with something and it'll be a derivation of it, or it'll be something else, or we'll see.
Yeah, well, it's your responsibility to say. That's why you get the information, right?
100%. It's just exciting to have your energy here because I feel like you're going to have a lot more projects coming up and things creatively for you popping in 2022 and 2023.
I sure hope so. From your mouth to God's ears. Let's keep this moving, as you said.
I appreciate it. I just want to thank Aleya for coming on the show today and sharing her amazing insight and knowledge from working with clients and helping in so many ways, overcoming pitfalls and hurdles and helping them to reach their potential. And one of the things I like about having different points of view come on the show and share perspective is to give everyone a broader base of understanding that there's different types of intuition in our lives. We all have our different talents and skill sets, and you can utilize your intuition and be creative. And it can actually be an embellishment to a current career path that you may have right now. So keep an open mind when you pursue your own goals in life. Be flexible, and you may have some entrepreneurial opportunities present themselves where you least expect it. Don't leave any rock unturned. I'm very appreciative for having this episode today. I'm going to have the contact information in the show notes. And until next time, stay positive, because when you're positive, anything's possible. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Social Psychic Radio Show. Don't forget to join us for another episode next time. If you enjoyed the show, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review on iTunes. You can also check us out on Facebook, and don't forget to visit the Social Psychic YouTube channel. Until next time, it's a big world out there. Keep an open mind, embrace your paradigms, and know that the universe is always yours to explore.